Welcome back, everyone, to another Loki episode breakdown. So I was really busy for these past few days, and I was never really able to get this video uploaded, and I had to prepare it as well. So yeah, so my apologies, but I will try to get the next one really quickly. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, so obviously spoiler alert because every single episode that happens in Loki, it keeps getting more and more. Uh, it keeps getting more reveals and like giant revelations and stuff. So obviously, it's better watch the episode then come to this video. If not, then I warned you, so you can't say anything. So anyway, so this episode is called The Variant, where it says in the description that Mobius puts Loki to work investigating the variant, but not anyone at the TVA is thrilled to working alongside the God of Mischief. So yeah. So anyway, so Loki is the variant is supposed to be a reference to two things. It's a reference to the version of Loki that they're hunting, the TVA is hunting, but it's also referring to this version of Loki that we have in the actual in the Loki series, because this is also a different version. This is a variant of himself. And we also see more variants of him, so I will talk more about that. But yeah, so then the episode opens in I think a city called Oshkosh, Wisconsin, in like some like maybe like 200. I think during the 1800s. And the Minutemen, they come here and they after the variant, obviously, and they get lured into this tent. And what ends up happening is their leader, who is Hunter C-20, she gets kind of possessed by the variants. So what ends up happening is she takes them all out, and what ends up happening then is she takes this device that they use called the time door, which will allow her to escape. But yeah, so yeah, pretty much. But yes. And she also takes C-20 with her, which I don't know why, but I think she did. Oh wait, actually no, she takes her C-20 so then she can use her to reveal some secrets about stuff. But yeah. So anyway, Loki is here having a test with Miss Minutes, and Miss Minutes explains how and basically what's kind of confusing to Loki is Miss Minutes doesn't understand how everything is like supposed to work. Because Loki's kind of understand if Miss Minutes is recorded or is she alive, and she says sort of both. But yeah, they never really know though. But yeah. So anyway, so then Loki's called to the mission so they can go to Wisconsin in the 1800s, and there's a bunch of other versions of Loki that you want to see. Now the thing about this version is this version shows Loki in his true form, because this one is okay. I know Loki has blue skin, and obviously the Loki here is white, but still, Loki is actually a frost giant. He's not an actual Asgardian. Remember, he was adopted by Odin, so that is why Odin would always discriminate him. But yeah, so he's adopted. He is adopted by Odin, but he's also a frost giant, which means his skin is actually blue. But the reason why he looks white is because, or Asgardian, I should just say, is because he used magic to make it look like that. Also, Odin used it on him at birth, so to make him look like that. So yeah. So basically, so you would have no clue. But yeah. Then there's this version of Loki, which looks really weird because there's also this version of Loki, which looks really, really weird, where it looks like he's a soccer player or like a football player of some sort. I have no idea what kind of object he's holding right here. But yeah. Then there's also this version, which basically looks like they basically combine the Hulk and Loki together, and that's what you end up getting. Variant 8 L6792. That's what you end up getting. Then this one is another version of Loki. This one looks like a version of Loki who looks like Genghis Khan or something. I don't even know. But anyway, but yeah, he looks like he just grew a beard mostly. And it looks like he hasn't had much sleep. But yeah. Then there's also this version of Loki who basically looks like a Viking, for God's sake. But yeah. So anyway, so they go to Wisconsin, and back where the scene happened, and they go examine the tent. And Loki kind of pulls a really giant scheme right here. And I'm gonna record, and I'm gonna play it, so I'm just gonna do it now. Okay, so basically Loki makes his whole speech. Now, when I first watched this, I actually thought he was true, but he's actually playing them really badly. But to be honest though, what I assumed at first though was kind of partially right because not only he was playing them, but what he said was kind of true because basically the variant did want them to look for C20. The variant also wanted them to because I know who the variant is, and my prediction was right for my last video on Loki. So yeah, but yeah, I will say that probably later. But yeah, so anyway, Mobius figures out what he's up to, and yeah, pretty much. So yeah, he tried, but Mobius obviously caught on to what he was doing. So yeah, but some of what he does say though is kind of true though. So yeah. But also Loki's plan kind of does come out at the end of this episode, so yeah, just warning you. But yeah. So anyway, so they reset the timeline, and then after that, Ravana and Mobius they have a conversation that I'll probably play. So yeah. Oh yeah, by the way, before I start the conversation, but yeah, so this is supposed to be Ravana's stuff in the background. Now, I don't know if I said this in the last video, but Ravana is known as Ravana is mostly known in the comics for being Kang the Conqueror's lover mostly. So yeah, but in the Marvel universe now, she has almost nothing to do with Kang. Well, actually, Kang might have something to do with it because Kang's face kind of shows up in here because so see, these are all supposed to be the timekeepers, and Kang looks closest to this one. This is how similar he looks like. So yeah, so it looks like Ravana was a Minuteman or like a hunter at one point, and then she worked her way up to the TVA. So that might eventually be happening. But yeah, so yeah, this version of if just to get a more closer up, this looks more similar to this one looks really close to Kang's face. Just literally go on Google and type in Kang the Conqueror, and yeah, I'll just do that actually. So yeah. See, this is what he looks like in the comics on Google, and the reason why they show Jonathan Majors' face is because he's actually going to be playing he's actually going to be playing Kang in Ant-Man 3. So yes, he's going to show up actually pretty soon almost. So yeah, because they even say that he's going to be playing, and they even name the movie. So yeah, that's kind of funny. But yeah, so yeah, that's his face looks the closest to that. Even though Marvel's probably going to change his face so they make him look more like that. Because yeah, because Ravana looks nothing like her comic accurate version. But yeah, so then they talk and stuff. But yeah. Okay, now that last part specifically of what Mobius said, that analyst on the side. Now, a lot of people have been speculating that the analyst is actually Reed Richards from the Fantastic Four because they are getting their own movie. So yeah, they are gonna get their own movie. But yeah, also this also has another connection to Kang. So yeah, this has another connection to Kang because Kang the Conqueror is actually a descendant of Nathaniel, no, of Reed Richards. So yeah, he's actually a descendant of him. So yeah, but although sometimes he is like a descendant of like other characters, but yeah, whatever. So yeah, so Loki tries to find files on stuff like the beginning of time, the timekeepers, whatever. The only files he's really allowed to look on though are the ones on himself and the variants. So he eventually looks at stuff like the destruction of Asgard, which is supposed to be what happened during Thor Ragnarok. But yeah, total planetary destruction, class 7 apocalypse. So yeah, now I think what they mean by the classes is I think like the higher the class is the less destructive it is, but like so like one would basically be the worst, and like and like 1,000 would be like not even that bad. But yeah, so yeah, so pretty much the destruction of Asgard, and they show the event details, and Loki's able to figure out that like apocalypses and destructions and stuff like that are usually what causes these are usually what causes others like that. Which honestly, this usually does play into some history because in history, apocalypses happen to a lot of groups of people, civilizations, literally everything. In the story of the prophet Noah, he's his people, I think, on the he went on the ark, and it was a giant flood said, which would technically be considered an apocalypse. So yeah, so anyway, so he figures that out, but he tries to explain that to Mobius, which I think goes pretty successfully, maybe, but not really though. He tries to explain it to Mobius, but it's kind of funny how he does it. But yeah, he reads it, the destruction of Asgard, and he explains it to Mobius. So what they end up doing is they actually go to Pompeii, Rome. Now, if you don't know, this is supposed to be where the if you don't know, Pompeii is where the Romans. This is Pompeii is a Roman city that got destroyed by a giant volcano. So basically, Loki's theory in this case is that no matter what happens during a destruction, he can do whatever he wants because it's not going to affect literally anything. Because all this destruction is going to happen. Everyone's going to die. So literally, nothing bad's going to happen. So basically, he does a bunch of crazy stuff and he acts like a maniac because that's what he is. So yeah, so they go to Pompeii, and basically what he does is he causes lots of stuff, and he starts yelling stuff like, "That volcano is about to erupt. You're all gonna die." And he's like, "Nothing matters." He's acting like a psycho, but yeah, pretty much. Oh, by the way, I also didn't know this, but Loki apparently knows how to speak like multiple languages, which I said in the last video that not only that, but if you remember from the last Loki video I made, in the comics there's this ability used by Thor called the All Tongue, which is where he's basically able to communicate with anybody across it. So he can literally speak any language, like Arabic, Hebrew, whatever. He can speak literally anything, and basically he could speak whatever language he wants. And I think this might also apply to Loki because he even though he wasn't able to understand the Mongolians in the last episode when he landed in the Gobi Desert, he is able to communicate in pretty decent Latin. So yeah, all of you are all about to die, he says. This volcano is about to erupt. It erupts. I would know because I'm from the future. Right on cue. So pretty much he basically his theory is right because it doesn't really matter because all the people in Pompeii they all die either way. So it's like literally whatever he does, it's not gonna affect legit anything. So anyway, So then what happens is after this, they go to 2050, which is like maybe like 30 years from now, and they see this business called Rox Carts, which is basically this business in the comics. I think it's meant to be some Roxxon, which is like an oil company or something. I don't know much about it, but yeah. So then the TVA and the Minutemen, they go and they got everybody. They got B-15. They're here to save C-20, and they're also here to stop the variant or capture the variant. And the variant under this hood is just watching all of them through security. So basically, they're screwed. Now, Loki and B-15, they have to go together because obviously B-15 does not trust Loki, as you can tell, and also from the description of the episode, it says that most of the TVA is not thrilled to deal with that, which basically includes Ravana, B-15, and basically everybody else. But yeah, so pretty much, she has her stunt thing ready in case if Loki does anything stupid. And honestly, she has a right to not be trustful because what ends up happening is they encountered this dude who has his hands up and he's like, "Hey, yo, I didn't do anything." But in reality, this is actually the variant who took the form of this man. If you remember, Loki can actually shapeshift. So obviously this one has to because when they were having that conversation earlier about the other variants, they mentioned that the variants, all the other variants Loki, they have some abilities, some of them don't. They can do some of them can do like different stuff while other ones can't, so their powers are kind of all over the place. So this one kind of possesses the form of B-15, and basically Loki is shocked, but then he figures out that this is actually the variant. So then on the other hand, though, Mobius and the other hunters, they are able to save C-20, but then what ends up happening is Loki and the variant, they end up talking for a bit, and Loki kind of reveals his plan, which was not the smartest move. He reveals that basically he kind of wanted all this to happen and stuff. Basically, he reveals that he plans to overthrow the TVA pretty much. He basically revealed that he planned to overthrow the TVA, all that stuff. But yeah, pretty much. So yeah, mostly though, he reveals that he actually is not really on their side, which I don't know if it's true because Loki's a dang manipulator, so you can never really tell what he's gonna do. But yeah, so then Loki finds all of these time charges, which, if you remember, the variant stole one of these in last episode at the final scene. But yeah, so this is probably where all of these charges have been bringing. Because then what ends up happening is they get into a fight. Loki is beating the crap out of. Now, if this was Thor, then Thor would have absolutely wrecked this dude. But Loki is not really more good at fighting. And Loki usually relies on stuff like magic and tricks and illusions to give himself the upper hand. But usually this isn't going to help him today. So yeah. So what ends up happening is all of those time charges, they explode, and it causes, and basically everything goes insane. Basically, one of the TVA agents says someone just bombed the sacred timeline, which basically goes insane. You see like all these different timelines popping up. Basically, all of that is because of the variant. But what ends up happening after is they get into more fights, and then what ends up happening is the variant actually reveals herself. Now, I know who the variant is, and I've already watched the episode before. So the variant is actually She Loki, or no, not She Loki, Lady Loki. This version of Loki is supposed to be this version of Loki is supposed to be the female version of Loki. There's also other versions, like there's a kid Loki who is like basically a child. There's also even more crueler Loki, but also this Loki is probably gonna be a lot more worse because you see, our version of Loki is not as bad, but she's gonna be a lot worse because Loki himself is already a villain on like the Avengers worthy scale. So if Loki himself has his own villain to deal with, then she has to be worse. So you see what I mean? So yeah, so she's gonna be a lot worse. Then she escapes through basically one of those time doors, and Loki jumps in with her, unfortunately, and Mobius is left there in the air. Now, unfortunately, Ravana said that this is only your last chance. So basically, Mobius, you just failed. You had one job. So yeah. So anyway, that's the end of the episode. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, and also comment down below. Tell me what you thought. But yeah. And yeah, so here is another video to watch, and here is the last Loki video I made, and please subscribe.